good afternoon to all the viewers here. I'm here for the Jobs for Her expert chat, and my name is Madiha Ahmed. The topic for today's expert chat is how to upskill in technology during the lockdown. Now, this has become very relevant to us as women, especially because we are either taking out this time to invest in ourselves more in our learning or getting more experiences or realizing, taking out time to reflect if we want to continue with the job that we had. Do we want a better job? Do we want a different kind of a job? Do we want to upskill ourselves and get into the latest things that are happening in the world around? Now, before I start answering your questions, I would like to kind of introduce you to my understanding and what I have learned while teaching coding to kids and dealing with technology and computer science for children. And the realization that I had that a lot of times when most platforms try to sell courses or when they try to parents try to teach children coding, everybody is just interested in making the apps what everybody wants to do at the end of the day, and they'll feel good and they'll feel a sense of achievement if they have been able to make an app. So it's like become the cool thing that if a child can your child make an app, if they're enrolled in a coding course, by all means they should be able to do that. That's the expectation we have. Now when we speak of adults, again, when it comes to technology, of course, women need to be there in artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and many others, data sciences. We need to get higher in these job profiles and positions and these domains. But first we need to identify how do we look at skilling in the technology sector, because unless we realize that, we won't understand upskilling in a better way. So in today's session, I will be sharing a lot of resources with you. I will be sharing a lot of insights and very practical hands-on examples and tools for you to get started in your upskilling journey, especially during the lockdown. Now when we speak of technology, as I said, and upskilling, what I realized when it comes to skilling, even with children or with adults, there are two types of skilling that we look at. One is the creative technology, where we skill ourselves, and the other one is the nerd technology, where we skill ourselves. Now I realized there were some children, when I started teaching them coding, they were not so interested in the detailed parts, the apps. They got very happy when it was the design part of the app. The moment it came to coding, they were really like confused and scared, and they lost interest because they thought it would be all fun and play all along. But very few children, can actually do things by themselves till the end. So that percentage is very small. Now when it comes to skilling of women, I felt something similar was happening, because not many women turn up at all these tech events. I was part of the Google developers events that happen, and then I was one of the speakers in that. There again, I felt majority of the speakers and even majority of the audience everywhere is males. Now what I understood was, those females who actually make it to the top either have a very good teacher who could explain things to them in great detail, which is why they were so keen on learning more in technology, and they had the interest to apply their brains and do projects, be part of more creative projects, not just in the creative way but also in the nerdy way. They went for innovative stuff. But when it came to females, what I felt was that when it comes to creative upskilling, we're looking at maybe things like digital marketing. We're looking at things like learning different ways to make designing posters, so like Adobe Photoshop or website design. Or we could be looking at video editing. These are some of the things that I figured out from the job profiles of women, and looking at and actually talking to women and finding out what most of them were interested in or into. Second is the nerd technology, where we speak of data analytics, we speak of web developer and front end and back end development. We look at artificial intelligence, machine learning. We talk about things like cybersecurity. We speak about mobile applications, and all of that in much detail. Now, what we need to understand here is that when and data handling, of course. Now, I am going to start with telling you more about how do you get started. So first, the getting started part. Some of you have mentioned in your questions that you want to kind of change fields, you want to go from, upskill yourself. You are already skilled in one technical skill and you want to upgrade yourself to more different kinds. Now, for those of you who don't even know the basics, I want to get started there. So now there are a lot of trial versions of many different apps. Like for example, there can be trial versions of these images, like images that you have to create, or videos that you have to create. So I'll tell you about my journey when I started into technology. Before teaching coding and actually learning to do things on my own, that was the journey where I started with Filmora. So Filmora is one such tool which I downloaded. It had the watermark. It had a trial version. I downloaded it. I tried to, record audio in the background with the phone, upload it on the computer, and then try inserting the audio and then changing, different pictures. So I used a PPT. I downloaded the PPT and then, had each slide as a different image, and then I added the audio in the background, and then I had to ensure that, audio was like for this particular slide, audio was from here to here. And that's how I learned to make 6 different videos on Filmora for a uh, like a big presentation that I had done. It had the watermark. I still uploaded on YouTube, and I wanted to see that if I could, do things myself. Then came the time when I was like kind of happy learning, the video part, how to do it on Filmora, playing, testing around. I was too exhausted looking at it. Oh my God, video editing is really tough. But then, doing it slowly, slowly, I think I did realize how to do it. Easier apps would be, there are many of these apps on the phone which you can just quickly download. Those are simpler ones as compared to Filmora. But I would still say, if you want to try out your hands on something little challenging, go for Filmora or similar apps. Second suggestion or tip I would give you is along the lines of Adobe Photoshop and a lot of different Adobe tools which you can use to do illustrations, which you can use to create logos, which you can use to create, edit photos, or create, posters, all of that. Now what happens here is, if you download the free trial versions which are there, you will actually learn to kind of, see that how sensitive the screen is. You will be confused about using certain tools, for example dragging them, or how to exactly drag them, how to change the colors. If there's one screen, some part of the logo you've designed it yourself and you've created it, whereas some part of it you would be, using the ready-made tools and templates which are there. At times you'll have to create text and you want it to be in a certain, alignment. So all of that becomes clear when you can download and you can test it out. If you want to start your journey into website development, I would give you a very good resource here, which is WordPress, or Wix is even easier. So there's wix.com where you can create your free websites, and it's so easy that you can just, create an account, click and see, how different pages can be changed, how you can, change the header, what you want to put there, and then come down and put the main text, if you want to attach any links to videos and all of that. So it's a good practice to start with this kind of Wix platform, and then go into WordPress, because WordPress websites are little advanced than the Wix one. Now if you want to go deeper into, like, doing more with website, WordPress is the second level. The third, of course, you can create your own website, code it. But starting point, as I said, has to be from something like a Wix to WordPress to creating your own website. Now this is about website designing, then Adobe and images, and third is video editing. Now let me take you through the data handling part, when you're starting the journey. One good practice here is, apply for an internship, or, like a short-term course, a part-time course in things like that require you to either, fill in data and work with data on Excel sheets. You have to feed data sometimes you just have to analyze, create charts, and, give your reports on that, write up for that. So this is an ideal career for people who like to write a lot, who are good with numbers and mathematics and analysis, and they want to go for, something that's a little creative, something application based, but they're not scared of numbers. So that is a good a field to start with. There are many internships that people like to offer, especially part time and work from home, which you can apply for. I'm sure there are many such jobs, even at Jobs for Her portal, Naukri Alert, and many others. Second is the PPT. So a lot of, companies these days, work from home, they want you to create a lot of presentations. They can give you a very small, so you can check up even internships, which are there, and a lot of content creation internships are coming up these days. I can even see nowadays on Facebook they've come up with, a section for jobs. So you can check out those kind of platforms and see, how it's working out there. So for example, you're someone who's very good with text, you want to play around with text, you also want to use technology, and this has become the future. So it's important important, that we learn to use the content which is relevant. Now I'll stop here to emphasize on the content part when it comes to technology, whether it is about selling your courses, whether it's about digital marketing, whether it's about the posters that you create, the video that you create, anything else. Content that we typically think of when we are thinking of a customer who's in physical presence, or when we think of typically content, that undergoes a huge shift when we think of digital content, because people have lesser time. They want it to be creative, they want it to be stimulating, they want it to be what they want. So if you don't have the right keywords, if you don't have the right kind of the content, you can easily lose the audience, you can lose the crowd, your post could be lost, your content could be lost in the crowd of so much which is already out there on Google and the web. So one good practice here is to actually understand your market, sit down with the other teams which are there in your company, or who are working with you in your project, and try to understand that what is the aim and the main intention behind doing this particular project, or doing this particular running this campaign. Once you have a good understanding of that, then you try to understand who is going to be your target audience, who's going to receive it, what kind of attention span do they have, which geographies are they from. These are some of the things which will help you to actually make your content specific for your target. So for example, a lot of people are these days on social media, but then you have to understand office goers. If that's your target group, then if accordingly you'll have to target it. If it is a particular geography, so if you're targeting a certain city in India, or you're looking at a certain geography which is specific, or a certain age group which is specific, when you go for those target marketing, you have to make sure that your content is very, very relevant, to the point and brief, not too detailed, right? Another thing to look at here is, many of you asked me about the courses and the platforms, like where to start. So also I forgot to mention, you want to do a cross section of design and the website development, and how things look at the interface, and a very little part of coding. Moodle is a good idea. What I mean here is, there is a resource called Learn Moodle, where you learn to create content, courses, stuff like that. So this could be your content. Let's say you have mastered one particular technical skill, or if you are just starting any other skill that you are good at, and you want to teach it to others, one good idea is to start using Moodle kind of a platform to create your content. That'll give you real hands-on experience of how to use the different features, how to use the different tools, how to start putting content, how will it appear on your screen, where will it appear, if it is coming up as a question. So let's say if it's MCQ type, quiz type, if it's a video with some instructions, how do you put it, where do you put it? Also teachable kind of platform, Udemy kind of platform. One good practice is, even if you don't want to sell these courses, make such a course on your own. When you start playing around with the different tools and features which are there, it will give you real confidence to actually look at technology, how it works from the customer side, as well as how it works from the person who's creating it, from the administrative side, right? Also, when we speak of starting coding, I think when you want to get into the real technical nerdy side of coding, I think you can even start looking at the children's platform for coding. So there's Tinker, there's code.org, there's Code Academy, there's Code Monkey. Go through those platforms and get your basics. Maybe if you're trying to have fun, if you have a child at home and you're restarting your career, it's a good idea to sit down with your child and teach them coding yourself. Because of course there are different companies and different educators and groups which are teaching coding to kids. But if you're a woman in tech, I would advise you to sit down with your child, subscribe to any paid platforms or free platforms, and see how you can teach your child different skills which are there on those platforms. Once you sit down with it, you'll actually see that, okay, the way you were looking at this particular technical concept or a skill, you are already at that point where you are looking at it in a more basic way. And when you go more basic after knowing a skill, you can go higher in that skill or other skills, because you have processed it in a deeper way. So I'll give you an example. When I was teaching coding to a child from Hyderabad, she was very young, and this was like one of my first students who I was teaching with a company. And when I was teaching her coding, she came up with this insight in a very a very short span of time, where I was teaching her about how to make a game and how to design it and all of that. And I was surprised when she came up with this idea that ma'am, I think she told me this, that ma'am, I think people who make games should know how to play games. So, and the other thing she said was that those who are making games should know how to play games, and those who are playing games should know how to make games. The reason is then they'll give a better experience to the people who are playing it, because they would know that this is not turning out good. I can't hit this properly. Maybe I need to, have score even for hitting or touching the wall or something, So she came up with that idea, of how. So this is like, a person thinking like a customer, the customer side of things. As a creator, she's thinking of the customer side of thing as well. So this is a good idea, and I developed a lot of insights while teaching coding to kids, because I never looked at technology that way before. I mean, because I was teaching kids, the kind of questions that they come up with. So for example, there are such basic things that we look at, and I'll just give this one more example from children's coding and get into adult again, where it was about loops. So repeat loop, let's say, is for east direction, if it's that basic, and then repeat for south. And then there is another one where repeat loop has E and S together, which is east, south, repeated whole thing thrice, or like that. So when I saw children doing all of that, I realized that we are not teaching real basics to kids. And as adults, we don't even realize that so many basic things matter. Unless it was the child's question and experience which brought these things and highlighted it in front of me. And now let's go through some of the platforms. So Allison is one such course platform which is very, very useful. And I'll tell you, it's useful because it's free. And secondly, it has a vast resources of not just technical courses, but also a lot of other courses. So let's say while you're browsing through one, you see something parallel there, you feel like enrolling, you can go for it. But it's not on my priority list because it's a free platform, but there is no such added value that I found. Course was good, content was average, but I could offer, if I had to go for a course, I would choose some other platform. So Code Academy is one platform where you get a lot of free courses, again, in a lot of technical skills, starting from web development to from data science. But the good thing here is, if you sign up for a subscription which is around $20, you get to do more projects, you get to do more quizzes, and there are more resources which are also there on Code Academy. The third one is Coursera. So Coursera and edX is somewhat similar. They offer courses from some of the best universities abroad. But the thing here is that you can, audit the course. So basically, you can go through the course. You don't maybe get to, participate in a lot of things which are happening in detail, like discussion forums and all. You may not get the opportunity to submit projects and get feedback on it, or you may not get a certification. Of course, that's the biggest thing. You don't get a certification if you don't pay for it. So edX and Coursera, if you're looking at certification from different universities across the world, these are typically courses that can start from around 3 months to, say, like a year. That can be the duration, but typically 3 to 7 months or 3 to 9 months could be a good course. And these are self-paced learning, so you don't have a pressure of submissions and deadlines that strong. You can do it at your own pace, but of course there's a deadline which is the larger deadline, and you have to finish your course before that. And of course there's an assessment to give you the certification. Now there's something called Dash General Assembly. Now this is another platform which I found, which I felt you could be used for a lot of different courses. Harvard Online Learning. Now this is one platform where you'll find two major categories that you could go through. That is computer science option. You can look up what are the courses under that, or data science options. Now here you'll find a lot of free courses on mobile app development. You'll find it on web programming. You'll find it intro to computer science, as basic as that. Of course, some of us like to merge fields. So if you're someone who likes business and you want to get into computer science, like a good understanding of that, then there's computer science for business professionals. If you're a lawyer, if you're someone who's also like inclined towards the legal field, you can go for computer science for lawyers. If you're someone who wants to learn artificial intelligence with Python, there is a course for that as well. Introduction to deep learning, cyber security, data science, machine learning. These are different courses which are offered, and I would encourage you, if you're looking at like these fields which I just mentioned, you can go for Harvard Online Learning. Most of these are free. I think only 2 or 3 here which I mentioned are paid, so you can look up and decide which works for you. Khan Academy is a very popular, famous free resource, but I would say that that is more like for children than adults. So if you feel you want to get your basics right, or you want to sit down with your child and explain some of the basic, technical subjects and topics to them, you can sit down with them and watch Khan Academy and see what are the resources that they have. One very important from resource from the professional angle that I found is Microsoft Learn. So Microsoft Learn is a resource where you have like a certification, fundamental as well as advanced, programs which are there. And even if you pay for it, you get accreditation from a good, like a good resource from a good platform like Microsoft. There is MIT Open Courseware, which gives again a lot of free courses, and you can check that out. Skillshare is one resource I would share for people who are creative, technical, techs, tech geeks. So it's like animation, design, illustration, photo, film. These are different fields that it covers. Skillshare, which I'm talking about. Udacity is one platform where artificial intelligence, machine learning, these could be used to learn from there, and that offers a lot of nano degrees. So nano degrees are like these brief degrees that you get, which are more hands on and which don't require, to sit down with, a proper structure, but they are more like, application based. So when it comes to learning from any of these resources, let me tell you what should be your aim and intention, because trust me ladies, it really matters, how we plan out the journey and what intent we put behind it. A lot of times when we sign up for a course, we have like very high expectations that this is what I'm going to master, and therefore I'm going to master it. And this is something I learned while teaching coding to kids, because parents have very high expectations. Oh, my child is going to learn finally. When is the child going to make an app, ma'am? Tell us please. So it's not about the basics that they're interested in. They're more interested in seeing an outcome which is quick and which is like a buzzword. So what happens here is, if your intention is also the same, that I want a product and outcome finally and quick, that's not going to work. But if you have like a time, deadline, that you want to apply for a job in next few this month, in so many months, or you want to kind of upgrade and you want to have a part time or a freelance course or something, freelance work, something like that, and you want it urgent and quick, I would say that, if you have a skill already, look for a skill which is similar, close, and do a project on it. Go for some application based work. And then, what matters in jobs related to technology is the kind of portfolio that you build. So a lot of times, you may not be someone. So I have a mentee of mine. He's not someone who's learned technology right from the start as part of an institution. He's someone who's self-taught. So he taught himself. He went through, different things that he created. He had a lot of links he put up, websites he created on his own, coded on his own, came up with things which were very original, and he just put his head into it. He created a portfolio of that, created a like a website which had all his work highlighted there. He applied for a job and he got it very easily, and a good salary, I would say, for a fresher. Because the reason is, someone not from any technical background, who was not accepted in a technical institute because he didn't have a background in computer science and a lot of other things that were barriers to his entry into a technical institute. He made it happen. He got a job, he got a career in tech. Today he's working with me as a website developer in my companies, to both the companies. So what I've realized is, and he is someone who's very open to learning, he's someone who plays around with tools. So what I would suggest is, when you get into a course, don't have that mindset where you are just thinking, oh my god, I'm working so that I get a job. Of course, job is the thing, which you're working for. But if that's the primary reason with which, you see, let's say, the job description of a company, and you say, oh, this is what they're looking at, let me sign up for a course which is so similar. And if I sign up for a course which is similar, I am bound to get a job. And if I don't get a job, I become depressed, I become sad. What went wrong? Why didn't I get it? The main thing is, you understand first what is it that you're inclined towards, what background have you come from. Now when you've realized this is the background you come from, so supposing you've come from a very very creative background and you want to get into a very nerdy background. I've had, examples of models, people who are modeling and who are into biology related field in their related subject in their college. them saying, they wanted to get into a tech company, an ed tech company, and I was surprised because I had no idea how the person would adjust. It's a different thing. So if so, again, here I want to stop and tell you, if you want to upgrade yourself, if you have a skill which is somewhat related to technology or any science related field, and you feel you want to work with an ed tech or a technology company, but not hardcore tech, you want to be aware of it. So a lot of times, we feel that a salesperson just requires a good skill of knowing how to sell things, or a marketing person just requires the skill of knowing how to do marketing. But it's a good, idea if you have a bit of background into technology and then you apply for these things like marketing or sales and all of that. It gives you a better way to pitch your stuff. It gives you more confidence to sell your stuff and actually talk to customer with the depth of actually knowing what is it that's being sold, or what is it that they're having problem with, and troubleshooting the problems. So it's a good idea, to merge fields today. And as women, I would advise, that most of you who would be applying for jobs, look back into your resume, into your work experience, and figure out what is it that you've already done in the past. Experiment. See, technology is not a field where you would like to stick around. It's a subject, it's a field where you want to keep growing. If the company that you're part of doesn't give you ample opportunities to grow, it's a good, way to look at, it's not like you're quitting on the company or you're not someone stable, but you should have a focus that, I'm going to stick around with this job, with this skill in this company for so long. I'm going to move on to the next company, next skill. You may be someone who might feel, okay, I've done my basic, I've done my engineering, I've got into this, but now I want to move to a completely new field. It's a waste of time, because you've invested so much of money and time into actually building a skill, acquiring a skill, a degree, and then chucking everything and then feeling I want to do something totally different. It's a waste of time. Why not utilize whatever skills and, passion that you have with the technology related skills that you've already acquired? Because that gives you, that you already invested 3 to 4 years, right? Most engineers like to go out for another job. They don't want to do anything related to it. I mean, that's something I've seen in colleges, in professional fields, and that's such a waste of human resource. They get into startups which are not even closely related to their technology. Again, if you're someone who's looking into startup, creating your own startup, starting something of your own, if you're looking at ed tech or you're looking at tech based, you try to understand what backgrounds you come from, and then relate it to, people having similar backgrounds, or people having different backgrounds but whose problem you can solve with your own background and the kind of skill set that you come from. Now let me get into some specific questions that are asked. Sheila asks, I'm a software engineer. I'm graduating this year. I don't want to start working immediately. Can you please suggest some ways I can upskill and be ready before entering the workforce? See, this is what I'm saying. If you are an engineer and you are graduating this year, you don't want to start working immediately, but you want to upskill yourself before entering the workforce. Sheila, I would suggest that you look up for internships at Jobs for Her. You look at simultaneously internships on Let's Intern, Internshala, Naukri Alert. Look up different resources and check out what are the different, internships which are being offered. Now when you apply for internship, look up different kinds. So if you're someone, who wants to experiment with 2 3 different things, identify 3 things you want to do after your degree. One which is, something you're very passionate about, go for an internship for that kind of field. Second, you don't like something, not so much, it gets boring after a certain time, apply for an internship for that sort of field as well. The reason I'm saying this is, when you don't like to do something and you still have to do it, it'll give you a new training of mind. And already, I feel that if you're someone who's working with technology and you're learning new skills, your mind also changes. So there was a time, because I was a biology graduate, and from botany field, I felt a lot of times, everything to do with our body was hormonal and biological. But from the moment I started teaching technology and I got into technology, I was like under this impression. I did some research and I actually figured out in my own self and other people that, because it's become a world where technology has become very important. So because we are dealing with a world where technology has become important, there's a biological side of my brain which kicks in and, tells me to react a certain way, behave a certain way. There's a hormonal part. And because we are getting into a world of technology and we are dealing with computers all the time, the brain has started, I feel, developing this ability to program stuff. I don't want it this way. I can actually rewire my brain and make things work differently and actually see different results. So this is a research that I did as part of my company realpacTech, and then I figured out that it's actually true. And then I did a TEDx just before this research. I actually shared it in more public forums. I did a TEDx, which is when biology meets technology. So what I'm trying to say is, when you get into a technical skill, remember, the more skills that you acquire, the more wiring of the brain will happen. If you actually mindfully learn these skills, your brain will get adapted to actually functioning differently. So which is why it's very important to not just be very mechanical when you're learning things. A lot of times we see that people who are into tech fields and people who are into technology, I've seen they have a lot of communication problems because they stop talking. They don't really think so much, they're just with their computer all the time. These are children and graduates and professionals who struggle with communication. But then I figured out, when we as people who are part of the team or who are part of their life, when we deal with them in a different way, they have that ability to get wired very quickly. So I have my best friend, who's from a technical field, and while dealing with my best friend, I realized, there were times when, I had to really program my head differently than I would typically normally do with anybody else, or typically I would behave. So I figured out that, because people come from technical backgrounds, they somehow unknowingly develop certain abilities. And which is why, as people who are part of their lives, as friends, as colleagues, as peers, as professionals, whatever other fields it is, we can actually utilize this skill. So it actually helps you become more innovative. Now what I'm talking here is, Sheila, again coming back to your point, as I said, something that you don't like and something that you like, when you are working on it simultaneously, your brain will actually benefit from doing both. And when you get into a proper job, you'll be in at a, like, top, like at a winning position, in the sense you will have that ability to see, before the job long term will bore you, you've already bored yourself and seen how this works for you, and you learn the reality of how technical jobs actually work. For most people, I mean, that's how I've seen, they are in big positions, big companies, but they're not very excited about their job because maybe they've not put so much of thought before it, or they never knew it could get boring. But if you prepare yourself from the beginning, you'll actually have better results when you're part of the company and doing the job. Secondly, when you're doing something you like, you'll actually realize your strengths better. You'll actually be more experimental and, open to innovation. Also, when you do something you like and you don't like together, you can see what is it that you don't like about what you don't like. So there are certain things that you don't like because they get very complicated. You don't like the part of testing out your programs. What is it that you don't like doing? You don't like certain concepts in the coding. So those are things you will become aware of, and accordingly you'll be in a better position to actually apply for a right kind of a job for yourself. Second is Rashi. Hi, ma'am. I wish to upskill in tech, but not sure which programs to choose. I'm interested in AI. Can you please help me? Rashi, as I said, there are many resources that I shared about with you all, like Harvard Online Learning, then Udacity, Microsoft Learn. You could check out these resources to learn more about, all these artificial intelligence courses, machine learning courses, and also, because they give you proper certification. So, also, if you're interested in, so Harvard Online Learning is one I would suggest for you to start with. Maybe intro to AI with Python, or you could start with, let's say, mobile app development, or you could start with deep intro to deep learning or data science and machine learning. You could look at some of these courses. Microsoft Learn, you can check out, maybe a fundamental course and get yourself, certified through one of these programs which exist. Next is from Deepti Prabhu. I lost my job just before the lockdown. Do you think it is better to upskill first or directly get into my next job? If yes, what upskilling course will you recommend? Good question, Deepti. I think when you say that, I really love the thought you put behind the question, where you said that is it better to upskill before applying, or should you apply into your next job directly? So here, I will not tell you the right answer because I don't know what will work for you, but I can give you some suggestions and open up your mind to the possibilities that could exist for you, and then you are the best judge to take up the call and go for it. So one particular suggestion here is, and a question for you is, if you're looking at, upskilling yourself first, I would suggest, think of the second thing what you're telling me, directly get into my next job. What is the kind of a job that you would apply for? So shortlist three different places that you would like to apply for a job. Now, when you've shortlisted these three places, I want you to think more about why did you choose this place? Is it because of the work that the company has done before, or the growth opportunities that you would get, or is it utilizing your skills, exactly how you want it to be and the kind of work commitment you would get? And of course, the work culture and all of that would be the fourth and the fifth criteria after that. No, for this particular exercise, not otherwise. Of course, work culture matters, but I'm just saying for this exercise to figure out whether to upskill yourself first or to get into a job. That is the reason I'm saying. So figure out three different jobs that you would be looking at, and what is your reason for it? Is it the, like, if you're looking at the company profile, what is it that you would benefit in the next 3 to 5 years if you stuck around, for 5 years? If you looked at it, as in, what is the time commitment required, what kind of projects that they do, what kind of reputation they have, look up all of that. Also, opportunities to grow, that's very important in the tech field. So think about it. Once you figure out these three jobs, now think about it, that supposing you wanted to either change locations and look for something better, which would help, which of these three would help? So would this particular course that you took up, let's say in this particular place, let's say you took it up in like one company which is giving you like a good salary, as well as utilizing your resources correctly, then it's a good idea to start where your salary is good. The reason I'm telling is, when you get an incentive in terms of monetary return for a work that you do well, I think it gives you more motivation to use that money for higher skills that you can acquire, rather than then thinking that, okay, I'm not happy with this job, now I need to get into another job, I need this skilling. So my advice to you as a woman would be that go for a job which gives you, so if that option, let's say, comes down to going for a job next one directly without upskilling, go for that. Because once you have your salary, you have your withdrawal, which you are having, which is good, solid, even if you don't like the job, you're getting an income which is steady, it's taking care of your bills. And secondly, of course, you can save up little bit every month, to invest directly maybe into a course every month and then pay for it, or accumulate and then accordingly go for a better certification. That gives you good confidence to have a very steady career path, and also look at yourself as a financially independent woman who knows how to manage finances and money. That plays a huge role in growing your career and growing yourself as a professional. How do you manage your finances and skilling yourself at the same time? So Nitya, I hope that answers your question. When I said look up what opportunities you would get, supposing you get, you have your finances, you have your savings right now properly. What is the thing to do then? If you have your thing already, then you look up, upskilling yourself more. Look at, those three jobs again and think about it. What is the higher, like, kind of a job position that I could get, or a better company that I could apply for? What would be the requirement? What would be the qualification? What is the eligibility? And accordingly try to meet it. If see, this is only for your situation, I'm not going general, right? So Nitya CY, hi, how do you think I should future proof myself in technology? Which courses will help me? Nitya, from your question, it seems to me that you are not fully into the technical field, or fully doing what you want to do in technology. That's my understanding from your question, that there's something more, either you are expecting in doing in technology but you are not doing that, or you are not from technology field as such, but you've taken the leap of faith to get into it and build a career in it. I could be wrong, maybe none of these are right, but this is my assumption looking at the question. So I'll take it that way, because this is one of the general problems and general challenges that women face, and therefore I'm going to answer it for you. Now, if you're someone who is not fully into the technical field and wants to take a jump and go into the technical careers, then a good idea, as I said in the beginning, is to start with different testing out with like doing something for the images, which is doing Adobe Photoshop and a lot of other tools similar to that, which works with illustrations and all. Secondly, images, illustrations, all of that. Second is in the film part, like creating videos, like video editing through Filmora. Canva is very basic and simple, but Filmora is a little advanced, so you could go for that. Third is, of course, as I said, website development, checking out with a Wix.com kind of a platform, creating a website, to a little advanced version of a WordPress website, and then doing courses to figure out how to actually code your own. That's one way to learn. Also, I suggested Learn Moodle, that you could check out a Learn Moodle kind of a platform, which you could use to kind of integrate the content part with the images part with the visual part. So let's say every image that you've created, all the videos that you've created and maybe uploaded on your YouTube channel, you could, put all of that into the Learn Moodle platform all together, and it's right in front of you what it could do for you. Same thing, a website. So let's say you have good posters, you have good videos, you want to use all of that and create a good website and test out, how people are giving you feedback. Why not go ahead, maybe about your own life, create a website like that and put up videos and pictures. So what I'm trying to say is this serves you two ways. It serves you to create a portfolio of yourself online, and it creates a good digital footprint, and it's your own work. And secondly, also it helps you to test out and create stuff yourself and see what is interesting to you and what is not. Because a lot of tutorials will be available for all of these platforms and resources that I shared on YouTube, how to upload, how to create, how to do this and that on this platform. In case you can't play around and do it yourself, you can still go back into tutorials and check it out how those things work. Also for Python, for C++ and a lot of other JavaScript and also HTML, whichever one you want to start with or work with, there are many tutorials which will give you insight into what works for you, what doesn't work for you. My personal advice to you would be, no matter what you come up with, whatever you want to do, have, in mind, see, I don't know how people can just assume I am a tech person. I don't know how that would work for people in general. For women, at least, I can't imagine. You know why? Because there is another additional thing that you're good at. So, tech with HR, tech with finance, tech with marketing, tech with business, tech with legal field. There has to be something else with tech, and therefore your interest. Because see, we women, when we think of upskilling ourselves and we talk of technology, women in technology, we go very general, we don't even know what we're talking of. So we really have to be, a person who's very clear. So tech with what? Because if there's the second part is missing. There's tech, but there's no second part. You don't know what you'll end up doing. There's no intention, there's no motivation. You don't know where you'll end up. So you have to go back in time to your personal journey and see what is it that you did in the past, what is it that you were good at in terms of subject at school, what is it that you qualified during your college course, and what subjects did you like then when you read about news channels, when you read up news, is it finance you're interested in? If you're interested in the people, what people are up to, celebrities are up to, whatever it is, try to find out through your patterns of daily life where exactly your inclination, interest and passion lies, and then accordingly try to merge it. Because see, that's where innovation lies. That's where you add your unique touch and you become an original and you stand out, instead of saying I've also done what everybody else has done. It's boring. Come on, nobody wants to be like everybody else. And if you want to be a woman in tech who wants to stand out in a career, stand out in a company, stand out with the startup that you have, a tech or a tech startup, what I'm telling you is you have to merge your field of technology with another field which makes sense. Because see, tech purely does not exist. Technology is used as an enabler, it's a facilitator. It is something which is adding more. It's not the only thing on itself in itself, right? So unless you identify what are the other things, the other areas, the other fields that makes it interesting for people. And that is why I'll tell you, a lot of times, you may want to apply for a job, but chances are you have a technical skill but you don't crack through. Because what happens, see, I know somewhere maybe people don't really clarify, and neither do companies very openly and very clearly. They say you need to have understanding and knowledge of this program and this language and this and that. But a lot of times, they may mention things like should have people skills, but it's not very clear. Because if I was someone, who had to hire, I would look at it this way. I would say technology with HR should be your interest, or with finance, I would put more hashtags, because the moment I add more fields which are more there into the field, I can, make the person also clear that, okay, what is it that you're jumping in for? And I would know what kind of a candidate is coming to me. So my suggestion to all of you is, even if the workplace is not like that, but at the end of the day, they will recruit on those criterias. They would see, where is your strength and combination, which is why I'm saying that if you do some projects and if you do some application based tasks and work and put it up in your portfolio on the website or something, and then apply for a job and give the link to the same, you have a better chance, because your work shows, your visibility of that thing that you've created publicly shows. If there is a digital footprint to it. Now, why I'm saying all this? Because see, the world and the companies and everybody else at the top, everybody is busy trying to solve micromanage, at times macro manage, but nobody is really thinking with the same depth of the grassroots. I'm at the grassroots and I'm at the top and I'm sharing platforms on the top. So what happens to me, the way I see work is this. That's why I'm sharing the suggestion that you should know the grassroots where you are, where women are coming from, especially. It's a multiple things, and today there are companies which are ready to upskill women. There are free resources for us to get started and get a good job, and therefore they'll skill us for free or with a lot of additional support. But the point is, just because it's being offered to us for free, there has to be a back end work that we do on our part, where we figure out that, okay, what is it. So let me break it down into some examples and give you more clarity. So let's say I'm a person who really enjoys let's say interacting with people, and let's say I enjoy any technical skill as well. What would I do? Typically, maybe people would say I would go for marketing and social media marketing and all that. But I could also be someone who's a mobile app developer. You know why? Because I would see that how different age groups, how they would interact with a mobile app. What are the different trends and patterns they would have? Maybe I would also be someone who is developing things in the back end, but also at the same time figuring out things like how to create better stuff, how to make the experience more user friendly. So having a customer touch, getting to interact with customers, getting their feedback live as much as possible, and also at the same time I would love to test out things with the app. So you have to take a deeper interest and understand how that would work, right? So mobile app is just one example. Another one I could be looking at is, so supposing we are talking of creating websites and coding them. A lot of times when we have, so this is my experience, that when I did it on Wix, and then when I did it through a mentee of mine that I shared about, when he did it on WordPress, there were things that I was looking for more, and he gave me idea that, Didi, why don't we do it this way, why don't we do it this way. So that gave us ideas that this is not going to work, it's not there in the template already. So even WordPress didn't work, so now we have to come up and code our own website and do it the way we wanted. But of course there's additional costs. So what I'm saying is, see, technology is, of course, as all of you must be knowing, is the future. But also understand, everybody else at the same time is in that rat race to upskill themselves, to compete and apply for the similar jobs, which is why there may come a time when jobs are there and it's filling up fast, and people might end up jobless because everybody else is having the similar skill. What will make you stand out is this. See, jobs will only increase now because of lockdown and during the COVID situation. I think more and more people are realizing that if they had a skill which they could use and work from home, trust me, digital world, the more you know the digital world, the more you know how to navigate through it effectively and have a good background knowledge of all of that. I think it gives you an edge and a plus point to go up and work with bigger companies. Because at the end of the day, gone are the days, especially I realized this during lockdown, that gone are the days when we thought that, okay, because I have a certain qualification or certification, and therefore I can do this and I have this background. You are not going to get job or stay in the job for long. People are going to throw you out if there's a like a problem or a financial difficulty, or the scaling up becomes a problem. But if you're someone who's really really skilled and knows your stuff in the background, and you know how to navigate and merge fields and play around and grow yourself fast and pick up things fast, I think you have the greatest edge, because now is the time when you're going to thrive and flourish. Because now is the time when people will realize that even if you found something boring, you still stuck around, you did it, and you merged it and made it innovative, which is why you are going to be in demand. And this is the hope for all of you, because you are all women who came up with the questions, and you came up with your ideas, and you asked me specific things and specific details, and I've given you a lot of resources to go to and check out. I'll repeat, the courses are from Harvard Online Learning, mobile app, web programming, intro to computer science for lawyers and business professionals, intro to AI with Python, cyber security, data science, machine learning. I told you about Microsoft Learn, a lot of certification programs. I told you about Skillshare for people in UI and UX. And so the things that I mentioned here was animation, design, illustration, photo and film, Udacity for AI, ML and data sciences, And as I said, you need to get into it with the right perspective to learn something new. And if you already know a lot, you might get into a course of Python thinking I already know it, but go into it thinking you will develop newer insights, you will work on different projects that come up either on the same platform, or you will look up for more different kinds of projects that are possible using Python. So these are just some of the examples and suggestions and tools that I've given you. If you have further questions, please feel free to ask in our group, Jobs for Her group, which is there for AI and ML. If you're looking out for more, master classes or expert chats on similar topics, please let us know. And yeah, we'll see you soon again for the next expert chat. Thank you so much.